Good morning, wherever you are, whoever you are. Welcome to my second car story. I'm Ivar Nygaard, and I'm talking to you from my car parked on a parking lot in a town called Stavanger on the western coast of Norway. The car is the safest place you can be in a pandemic, but I must admit, I look forward to the day when we can meet eye to eye, story to story in the library or at church or wherever stories are told. Maybe we need a miracle to achieve that, but maybe not that kind of miracle I'm going to tell you about now. They didn't remember what came first, the pandemic or the draft, but together they wasted the land. The rich, of course, could flee to their estates or their apartments in the cities, but the poor had to say, stay put and endure. And this couple, they were down to their last piece of bread and the last lump of butter. The man was just about, he did put the butter evenly on the bread, spread it evenly on the bread, and was about to cut the bread in two, just to share it with his wife, when he managed, it's always been clumsy, so he managed to topple it over the edge of the table and it fell down on the floor, and the man said, "Oh shit!" But his wife looked at the piece of bread and said, "It's a miracle. It's a miracle." And then she stood up, rushed to the door. At the door she turned and said to her husband, "Don't you touch the piece of bread and sit still. Wait for me to come back." And he knew from experience that he better do what she told him. So she ran down the street into the church. And there was a young priest, and she said to him, Come, there's a miracle at my house." Well, he didn't really believe her then, but he knew also that he needed the miracle. So God's ways are, don't know God's ways, so he just followed her up the street and into her house. And when he came in, he saw a man sitting by a table with a knife in his hand and a piece of bread on the floor. And he asked, "Where's the miracle?" "Don't you see, man?" the woman said. "The piece of bread, it lays with the buttered side up. And every wise man, and it's even scientifically proved that when a piece of bread falls, it falls with the buttered side down. So this is a miracle." Well, said the priest, he didn't really, maybe he said he didn't want to get into an argument with this woman. He knew that she was very, very persistent. So he just said, "I go and ask my betters." And the next day he took horse and rode to his bishop. But the woman, she didn't wait for him to come back. She just spread the word all over the village, and people came to see the piece of bread. And they really wanted to see a miracle. So they said, "It's a miracle." And the word spread to the next village and to the next village. And people came from all over the place to see the miracle, the bread miracle. And the guest housekeeper had to enlarge. He called himself now the hotel director. And the baker, he had to bake so much bread to feed all these people. But he kept a little secret. He baked a special bread that just looked exactly like the piece of bread that lay on the floor. And the dairy, they produced a butter, they churned a butter that looked exactly like the butter that lay on the piece of bread that lay on the floor. So every night the miracle was refreshed, so to speak. But the bishop was worried. It was bad for business. People started going to this village instead of his cathedrals and the shrines other places in the land. So he decided something has to be done. He talked to other bishops, and together they just found out what to do. So one day he came with all his entourage, all the great clergy in their black and white robes with linings of silk, golden silk. And they had this cross of gold in front of them with rubies inlaid. And they had funny hats. And they walked slowly up the street towards the house where the man and the wife, husband and wife, stood together with the hotel director and the dairy manager. And they were very excited because now they expected them to declare this miracle a really miracle. But the bishop just stood up, raised his hand to demand silence, and then he said, well, if the piece of bread really had fallen with the buttered side up, it would have been a miracle. But, well, you see, this man, this woman, they are ignorant people. They didn't know what to do. So they just buttered the wrong side.